Hello, and thank you for watching. My name is Bradford Roberts, Principal Broker, Founder, and Owner of TR Realty in the Las Vegas area. After watching this video, please be sure to like it as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel. Download the pertinent handouts for this video by clicking the link in the comments below. Now let's get started. This video is entitled Class 3 Buyer Excellence, and this segment is entitled Showings. We want to show as few properties as possible. A lot of real estate agents act as if they earn money every time they show a property. No. In fact, the more properties you show to do a transaction, the less efficient you are and the less money you are making per hour. Showing houses should not be done at random. It should be a process of elimination, a process of education, and it should be handled in the most efficient way possible. If you listened to my presentation for the buyer brokerage agreement, you heard clearly that I said to my prospective buyers, I want you to pick 4 properties that we will go out and see. The reason I said that, we have to arrange the showings. We have to set the agenda. And according to the National Association of Realtors, if we show fewer than 4 houses on any given day, buyers feel cheated. They feel that they don't have enough choices. And if we show more than 6 properties in any given day, buyers get confused. And when you're confused, you buy nothing. So according to the National Association of Realtors, the number to show on any given day is between 4 and 6. My personal experience is to show 4, and I like to show the best ones first. There's an old saying, save the best for last, not here. When I look at my buyers' criteria, these are the things that they are looking for. I probably have a feeling that 1 or 2 of those properties might be better suited for them than the others. Those are the ones that I want to show first. If you show a house and then a slightly better house and a better house, then all we need to do is keep going, right? Because they're getting better and better. So we want to do the opposite. That's where they're fresh, that's where they have the energy, that's where they spend the most time anyway. Let's show the good ones right up front. Now, sometimes as a real estate agent, you can't find exactly what your customers are looking for. So you might have to show what we call UCS listings. UCS stands for Under Contract Show. And what that means is it's like the old contingent status. In other words, they have a buyer under contract, but there are contingencies in the contract. Perhaps due diligence period, appraisal contingency, loan contingency, maybe the CIC resale package hasn't been delivered yet, maybe the disclosures haven't been delivered yet. So there are ways that the contract could fall apart. And you'll find that a lot of agents don't keep status accurate in MLS. So just as an example, it's possible that the deal fell apart last night, and then today they still haven't changed the status in MLS. So I recommend that you call UCS listing agents if you're having trouble finding suitable inventory for your buyers. Also, as a strategy, when I was sending MLS sheets to my buyers, I would intentionally include a couple that were under contract, knowing full well that they were under contract, but I did that to create a sense of urgency. I think if the buyer is under the impression that every house in town is available and on the market, they're not likely to make a decision anytime soon. And if they do, they're probably going to take all kinds of freedoms with the contract. They're probably going to ask for all kinds of things. So I would include a couple of under contract listings by design to create a sense of urgency. And we need to show the right houses. When I say show the right houses, I'm talking about if someone is able to spend $300,000 and we show them a $700,000 home, they're going to love it, right? Of course, because it's above their means. It's better than they're hoping to get. But how can they buy it, folks? They can't. If they're only pre-approved for 300 and you show 700, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment, not to mention wasting time. So in my experience, when we ascertain the buyer's price point, we should show a range of properties from 20% below to 10% above. So example, if the buyer is pre-approved for 200, I would show between 160 and 220. So 20% low, 10% high. We're showing a bit low so that they have choice, so that we're not maxing out their mortgage payment, and we're not showing them that, we're only concerned with our commission. And the reason I would also go a little high is because typically there's room to negotiate in a transaction. So that would be my strategy, from 20% under to 10% above their price point. How do we get showing instructions? Well, you're thinking, that's easy. Showing instructions are in MLS. Well, it's true that showing instructions are in MLS, or supposed to be, but who says they're accurate? A lot of listing agents take the listing, they'll put in the showing instructions that apply today, and then as situations may change with that property, they fail to update the status. So you might think a home is vacant, as an example, and you get there and you discover there's people in there, Maybe they let their relatives stay in there for the weekend when they came to town or something like that. So my opinion is, no matter what it says in MLS, we always contact the listing agent. Every time we contact the listing agent so that we get accurate showing instructions. And not just whether the property is vacant. There's a lot of questions that I like to ask the listing agent. One is the status, as I already mentioned. Is it under contract? Is it without contract? Is it vacant? Is it occupied by a tenant? Is it occupied by the owner? Are there pets on the property? Those sorts of things. Second thing is access. Is there a gate? Do I need a code? Is there a security guard? Does somebody need to call me through? Can't trust what you see in MLS. And is there an alarm system? Another question, is there a lockbox? If so, where is it? What kind of lockbox is it? How do I open it? A lot of mechanical lockboxes out there, even though TR Realty does not use them. There are mechanical lockboxes that can be very tricky to operate. And when you're out there, half the time you're nervous anyway. You got to do, 2 turns to the right, 1 turn to the left, push on the bottom, pull up the top, squeeze off the, come on. It's too complicated. You can't open the box, and you're going to look like an idiot in front of your buyer. Call or contact the listing agent and get information about the lockbox. So these are all very, very important questions. This is why I'm recommending that you contact the listing agent every time. But there's actually another reason as well. Get the conversation going now. The negotiations start now. Folks, when I was selling real estate back in the days of paper, I would print out all of the MLS sheets. And I would contact every listing agent. I would turn the sheet over and I would write on the back of it. And that way, I didn't confuse one house with another. I had my notes on the back of the page that applied to that house. And there were questions that I would ask, such as the questions I just went over with you. But I would get a casual conversation going. How's it going? A lot of activity? A lot of showings? Any offers? Did we have it under contract and it fell apart at some point? Hey, I noticed the house is vacant. Sellers moved out? Did they move out of town? Why? Did they buy another house? So there are some of those questions that I just went over with you that maybe the listing agent should not be answering. That's his problem. There's nothing wrong with me asking those questions. Remember I said the negotiations start now. Because if you contact the listing agent when you're ready to write an offer, now he's in a defensive posture. Right now he's on the other side of the table. But when it's time just to make an appointment to show the property, they're on the same page with you. So that's why I like to take that opportunity to learn whatever, kind of inside information I can get. make my notes, and then when I'm in the field, if my buyers say, we really like this property, we're thinking of writing an offer, boom, I turn the page over, I've got my notes, I've got some inside information. After all, folks, I don't work for the other agent, I work for the customer. And I'm a true advocate for my customer, let me tell you. So I believe we get the conversation with the other agent going from the time of that first showing. Don't be intimidated by an experienced agent. I'm going to put that in quotes because sometimes agents will tell you they've been in business 100 years, but really how experienced are they? They might have done one transaction a year for the last 12 years. Now they're calling themselves an experienced agent because their license number is lower than yours. Don't be intimidated by these people. I remember when I was a young agent, a lot of experienced agents or so-called experienced agents tried to bully me, And I remember one guy telling me, hey, you don't know anything. I've been in this business 30 years. And my big fat New York mouth, right? I said to him, 30 years and you haven't been able to retire yet? He did not care for my comment very much, but I think I made the point. I'm not intimidated by you. You can't bully me. And a lot of experienced agents will try to push younger agents around out there, so be careful of that. Also, there's a lot of times that listing agents don't return your calls. When you call up and you say, my name is whatever your name is, and I'm with XYZ Realty, please call me back, they don't. Yes, they're busy. Yes, they're lazy. Yes, they're sloppy. But there's a strategic reason why listing agents don't call buyers' agents back. Can you guess what that is? It has to do with the fact that in Nevada, dual agency is legal. Of course, we don't call it dual agency anymore, even though most of you probably know that term. We are now supposed to call it multiple representation. But the concept is when the listing agent also brings the buyer, he gets double the commission, right? He gets the whole commission without dividing it with the buyer's broker. So listing agents will intentionally not call you back. Now, if you call up and you say, my name is whatever your name is, and you don't say you're a real estate agent, watch how fast your phone rings at that point. But that is by strategy, that is by design. And I want to remind you of something. Who owns the listing? Is it the listing agent? No, it's the broker who owns the listing. And as a veteran broker, I can tell you, I don't want to get that call from someone else. Hey, I called your agent again, I left a voicemail, I sent a text, and I didn't get any kind of response. Because you know what I'm going to do as the broker in that case? I'm going to take that listing away and I'm going to reassign it to another agent because that agent is either doing something unethical or not paying attention. Call the broker. And then I get asked, when can I go directly to the seller? Or can I ever go directly to the seller? I want to make sure that my associates understand that. So we always start with the listing agent. If the listing agent is responsive and polite and helpful, good. We don't have to go any further. If there's a problem with the listing agent, we go to the broker. Sometimes, unfortunately, the agent is the broker, right? But we go to the broker and we say, listen, we're trying to get showing, we're trying to get access, we have a question, whatever, and we try to get the broker to be the responsible person because it is the broker who owns the listing. But what do if you've reached out to the agent, you reach out to the broker, an ample amount of time has passed and you just don't have any kind of response? You can go directly to the seller. Now, there's a couple of things you can't do. You cannot disparage the other agent or broker in any way. You can't say, I left a message for the agent, I texted the agent, I sent an email, and that crazy guy who everyone knows is a drunk probably hasn't called me back and probably never will. No, we can't disparage them. You can't say, I left a message for the broker 2 days ago, he hasn't called me back because that's a crap company. Nope, can't disparage. The second thing you can't do is you cannot interfere with their contract. You can't say, I left a message with the broker, it's a terrible company, you should fire them and you should hire me. Nope, can't interfere with their contract. There's a legal term called tortious interference that we're going to be discussing in another video, and you cannot do that either. So if you don't interfere with the contract and you don't disparage another realtor, you absolutely can contact the seller. And you can speak factually. At 2:15 yesterday, I sent an email. At 2:30, I left a voicemail. At 3:15, I left a text message. This morning at 8:30, I left a message for the broker. I've had no responses. Therefore, I'm reaching out to you because I have a buyer in town who would like to see the property today. So you see, you haven't disparaged anyone. You haven't attempted to interfere in their contract. All you've done is speak factually. You have every right to do that. One of the things that I talked about a little while ago, in fact, in the buyer brokerage agreement segment, was setting a time window, not just a start time. Set a time window. Stay in control of your schedule. Stay in control of your day. Previewing is a concept where a real estate agent visits a property before they take their client to see the property. If you're a new agent, you might want to think about that. If you're working with investors or you're working high-end property, it's probably going to be expected of you anyway. Previewing is good. Steering is bad. Steering is when a real estate licensee directs someone toward or away from a particular part of town based on a protected class. So you can't say, I don't think you should live in this part of town or look at properties in this part of town because a particular type of people live there. That is steering. Not only is it illegal, not only could it cost you your license, but I personally find it reprehensible and disgusting. Never ever do that as a real estate professional, and certainly don't do it at TR Realty on my watch. Some agents, for their protection, are taking a picture of the buyer's ID and then sending it to someone they know and trust. If you go out in the field and you're feeling like you want to have that person's ID, you have every right to ask that, before you go into a vacant house with somebody, right? You have the right to know who they are. But think about it. If all you do is look at their ID and hand it back to them, if something happened to you, what's gonna happen now, right? Nobody knows who that person was. Or if all you do is take a picture of their ID and leave it on your phone, then what? So if you have concerns and you want to take a picture of someone's ID, send it to someone before you go into the property. A spouse, a partner, a loved one, a friend, send it to your broker, whatever you wish. Send it to your own personal email so it's visible somewhere else, but don't just leave it on your phone. Make sure all buyers are present. Looking on behalf of a third party is usually a waste of time. If someone says, well, it's my cousin who's going to buy a house, it's my mom who's going to buy a house, but I'm just out here, look, you're wasting your time. Make sure all buyers are present. And try not to indulge family members, friends, and other so-called experts trouble ahead if you do that. I recommend you discourage children on showings. Try not to have buyers bring children. They're easily distracted. I'm talking about the adults. They're easily distracted by the children. Children are climbing on things, breaking things, getting into things. They have to use the restroom. And I've seen a lot of complaints over the years because of children on showings. My opinion is that we should discourage your customers from bringing children whenever possible. We want to keep everyone together in a group. We don't want buyers to scatter all over a property. Then we don't have the communication, and we also can't watch them. If you've got one buyer upstairs and one buyer in the backyard and another buyer in the kitchen, who knows what they're doing, who knows what they're saying. We should keep everyone together as a group. And don't walk away from your buyers. Monitor the conversation. Talk less, listen more. Try to have the buyer follow you in their own car. I highly recommend you do not put buyers in your car. I know that's old school real estate, but the liability is off the charts. Even if you are the best driver in the world, all it takes is for another car to maybe, hit you at a traffic light or something, and now those buyers could come after you. We won't even talk about the safety of putting strangers in your car, but don't have strangers in your car for any reason. Real estate agents should have a couple of flashlights in their car with batteries that actually work. So you can go to the 99-cent store and get a couple of cheap disposable flashlights. In the winter in southern Nevada, it can be dark at 4:30 in the afternoon. Also, we do have some distressed properties on the market that don't have power activated. So you want to have a couple of flashlights, one for you, one for your customer. And I also recommend a couple of umbrellas. It doesn't rain a whole lot in southern Nevada, but when it rains, it'll ruin your day if you're not prepared. It's also good for the sun, right? Every agent should be using GPS. There's no reason, no excuse to get lost. Carry your pocket real estate license. Can you guess why the real estate division issues a license that they call a pocket license? Could you guess at the reason? It's supposed to be in your pocket. Now, you can laminate it if you want to, but more and more communities are not going to let you in with just a business card. They're going to insist on seeing your license. Don't be caught off guard, and it's the right thing to do. I've also had some customers ask me to see my license. If you go into a barber shop, the license is prominently displayed. If you get into a taxi, the license is displayed, right? You should carry your real estate license when you're out there working. You should carry lots of business cards as well, and you should leave a card with every security guard you encounter. Security guards are there to prevent strangers from wandering around the property or driving through the community. I got a lot of business when I was selling real estate from security guards. Actually, at holiday time, I would deliver boxes of cookies all over town to security personnel. Because when people drive up to a gate or walk up to a building, security's not going to let them wander around. People say, I want to go in, I want to see the community. Here, call this agent. They called me. Boxes of cookies worked really well for me. And I would also recommend leaving a business card inside every property you show. It's not for the listing agent. It's for the homeowner. And I've actually picked up some listings in my career from sellers who had listing agreements that expired. They wanted to hire another agent. They had my card. They chose me. So I like leaving a card at every showing. Now, when you enter a property with a customer, I recommend that you lock the door. And if there's a mechanical lockbox, you should reset the code so that it's not visible. Lock the door. Don't leave the door open so that strangers can come in behind you. They could either cause you and your customers harm, or they could try to hide somewhere in the house so they have access to the house when you leave. Lock the door. Also, keep in mind, the electronic lock boxes that we use, which are now called Sentry boxes, S-E-N-T-R-I, Sentry boxes. When a listing agent or anybody goes to buy one of those boxes, they actually have a default time that they can be opened. And that can vary. The association changes that from time to time. But as of this filming, those boxes are pre-programmed to allow them to be opened between 7 in the morning and 9 o'clock at night. In the Las Vegas area, it can get pretty hot in the summertime, right? And you might encounter buyers who want to look at properties after the sun goes down. That could be after 9 p.m. at night. Or you might encounter a buyer who wants to go out really early in the morning before it gets too hot. You might go out to a property and you can't open the lockbox. So if you're going to show really early or really late, you should ask the listing agent on that call we talked about the available time, and if that listing agent has changed the hours that the lockbox can be opened. And remember, you can use your Sentry app, you can use your Sentry card, you can't use both. Keep in mind, More and more houses have cameras installed. Companies like Opendoor almost always have cameras installed, and many of the cameras are hidden. Some have audio. Did you know that a homeowner can have video and audio in their home? They don't need any consent. They don't have to tell you anything in the state of Nevada. So you better assume, and you better tell your buyer to assume, that you are being recorded. Watch what you say, watch what you do, govern yourselves accordingly. I believe we should let buyers discover the house. We shouldn't lead the way, point out the obvious. Imagine you're showing a 35th floor condo and you say to the customer, oh, look at the view. Wow, you are an excellent real estate agent. You notice the view from the 35th floor. Or when you walk into a property you've never seen and you say to the customer, and there's the kitchen. Come on, stop it. You look ridiculous. Let the customer lead the way and learn from the customer. If the customer skips a room in that property, that should be telling you they have no interest. Nobody skips a room if they're interested in the property. And also, if you lead the way like a tour guide, most people are going to be polite. They're going to follow you around. They might have already made a decision. Hey, we don't like this property. And now you're just wasting everybody's time. Don't get trapped in a room, folks, because your safety is paramount. Carry your phone with you throughout the property. Don't walk in, put your purse and put your phone on the kitchen counter, and then go upstairs with strangers. Come on, carry your phone everywhere you go. And if it's a small room, like a bathroom, a walk-in closet, a laundry room, a room with one way out, let your customer go in first. Be smart. Don't get trapped in a room. One of the reasons I said to lock the door, the front door of the property, is because we don't want other agents walking in on us. You lock the door and you hang on to the key. Don't put it back in the lockbox while you're inside the property. Obviously, somebody else could open the lockbox and get the key, right? And also, folks, with the electronic lockboxes, remember that it is your license number, name, company, date, and time that's being recorded. So, example, if you open a lockbox and then you let another agent come in behind you, if they don't open the lockbox with their ID, with their Sentry card, it's going to be in your name. And if something goes wrong on that property, who's the last agent in the property? You. You can't prove that that other agent was there at all. Now, before leaving each house, ask the pros and cons to better guide you and clarify their preferences. You've invested time and energy into the showing. You should at least learn something from it. Then at least the time you spent showing the house was used wisely. If you can't find exactly what they want, you may have to convince them to want what you have. We can't make a house in a test tube, right? On the way out, folks, make sure you double check the windows and doors and the sliding glass doors, the lights, the security system, the air conditioning, the pets. Make sure the pets didn't run out. And when it comes to the air conditioning, by the way, this is a frequent complaint that agents will let their buyers turn the air conditioning down to 50 degrees. They just came in, it's 120 outside. They walk in, they jerk the air conditioning down to 50 degrees. They probably spend only 5-10 minutes in the house. The house is not cooling off any faster anyway. And then you guys leave the house, you left the AC on 50 degrees, and now the poor homeowner is going to get a $2,000 electric bill. They're coming for you. So don't let that happen. Check everything. Don't leave your customers unattended. Put the house back in this condition it was, the way you found it, the way you would like your house to be left. Some criminals will intentionally use a real estate agent to gain access to a property. And while the real estate agent is not watching, they'll unlock a window, they'll unlock a door, hoping that the agent doesn't notice, and then they'll go back later to get into the property. Do you want to be an accessory to that? When you're done showing, put the key back in the lockbox, put the lockbox back together. It might have a cover on it or whatever. Put it back correctly the way you found it. And if they like the home, then be sure to tour the common areas on the way out. We don't look at the common areas on the way in. Because if they don't like the home, it's going to be moot, right? But if they do like the home, remember, they're not just buying a home. They're buying a community. They're buying a lifestyle. They're buying those common amenities. So if there are things like a pool, a gym, a clubhouse, a tennis court, a basketball court, whatever, if they like the home, take a couple of minutes and try to show those common areas on the way out. And if your customer starts asking you financial questions like, what do you think the seller would take? What are the taxes on this property? How much would my mortgage be? What are the closing costs? Those are all good signs, folks. Those are what we call buying signs. And what that should trigger in your head is reaching out to the title company and getting a preliminary settlement statement. We don't do net sheets. We haven't done net sheets for about 12 years in this company because we work with a title company that will do a net sheet, or actually better than a net sheet, what they call a preliminary settlement statement. They will do it for you quickly. They'll do it for you for free. And that is the way we should address a customer's financial questions. When it comes to going out there, working with a buyer, shift the risk away from yourselves. Please, this is an easy way to get in trouble. When the customer asks you, what school would my kid go to? Are there any sex offenders living in the neighborhood? Are there any easements on the property? I wonder if I could build a second floor. I think I'd like to install a pool. Folks, all of these questions are fraught with liability. Shift the risk away from yourselves. Be the source of the source. In other words, give out the websites, give out the phone numbers, the places where people can go to get those questions answered. Don't answer them directly. You are buying yourself and me an unbelievable amount of liability if you do that. You know, most real estate agents talk way too much. You can talk yourself out of a sale and into a lawsuit. So be the source of the source. If you want to be dumb, act smart. If you want to be smart, act dumb. I would like to thank you for watching this video. I hope it was informative for you. If you are licensed with another brokerage in Southern Nevada and would like to talk with me, please text me or visit our website. See you next time.